Fighting fires is tough work, especially fighting these wildland fires out in these rural areas of the county. It's hard work, and it's not under ideal conditions. And so we're doing our very best to rotate those crews as best we can. And thankfully, we have additional resources from pre-positioning, and we have additional resources from holding our crews from yesterday at their stations.
Yeah, and we are looking at video right now of the tanker dropping fire retardant again over that fire there, which is luckily that CAL FIRE was able in the area to go ahead and help you. Now, when it comes to your priorities on this particular fire, is there one absolute thing you just want to make sure that you are taking care of, or are there a laundry list of several of them?
Well, number one on a day like today is we want to identify those fires very rapidly. That's why we rely on the public to report to 911 the smallest of fires instantly. Seconds count, so secondarily we want to get on those fires absolutely quickly as we can with the most overwhelming response we can possibly deliver. That's the only way in a situation like this to ensure that we keep them as small as possible and limit the damage that they may cause by keeping them from turning into large, disastrous conflagrations.
Have you found that as a result of kind of the preparation on your behalf, but also I think the major media event that was made out of this huge wind event, that people have been pretty amenable to getting out when they need to go, or are they being stubborn?
You know, I haven't heard any. I've been in the County Emergency Operations Center since yesterday evening. I haven't heard, and we've had numerous evacuations now at this point. I haven't heard from law enforcement of any reports of any difficulties with evacuations. I would imagine there are always holdouts, and probably there have been in these evacuations as well. In our view, that's not a very smart idea because these fires, as we are seeing, are moving very quickly. They're very unpredictable, and they're proving pretty tough to manage and control. So my advice would be to anyone who is in an evacuation order area to follow that advice and evacuate immediately. If you haven't been evacuated yet, there certainly is a possibility there will be more today. Prepare now for that eventual evacuation should it come to your area.
Steve Hill with ConFire, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. I know you've got busy and important things you've got to get to. Please stay safe out there.
Thank you very much.
All right, so if you are just joining us, we are recapping. That was Steve Hill with ConFire talking about a fire that broke out. It first started north of the Carquinez Strait, just east of the Interstate 80, and then jumped the Carquinez Strait and made its way into Crockett, where there are mandatory evacuations, immediate mandatory evacuations, south of Pomona Street to the city limits, and west Crockett Boulevard all the way east to 80. At this point, they are asking people to leave, go to the Hercules Swim Center as an evacuation zone. We're going out live now to photojournalist Brian Kiley, who is along Interstate 80 by the Sonoma Boulevard exit on the Vallejo side of the bridge. Brian, what are you seeing out there so far?
Well, I saw this as I was coming down from Healdsburg. I spent the morning up in those fires and saw this fire just kicking up my whole drive as I was coming across 37, just getting bigger, big plumes of smoke. I could see at least 3 or 4 drops done by planes. As you can see on this picture, at the very end of the screen, I'm going to zoom in. This is actually the toll plaza there. You obviously can't see it due to all the smoke and the sun. You can see to the left side a large presence of emergency personnel. We have fire, CHP, ambulances. Just over there, I'm not quite sure what's on fire over there, but we just had a big plume of black smoke over there. And as you can see, this fire ran right up to the 80 freeway. It's burnt some of the guardrails. As I bring you further left, you can see kind of the leading edge of this fire right here. And it's right around here is the leading edge. And just over this hill to this side, you can just see the tip of a house. And also in the background, you can see what looks like residents and fire personnel. I definitely see some guys in their fire gear, but some of that up there looks like residents who must be just watching the fire. They must live in all these homes that are right here next to this fire, really close to the danger zone. Luckily, it appears that the wind is pushing it, obviously, as you guys were mentioning, towards the bridge and towards the Hercules area. So it appears that maybe at this time, these homes are not in imminent danger. But I did notice as I was coming up Sonoma Boulevard from Highway 37. There was a large number of people who have evacuated this area. I don't know if this was voluntary or otherwise. I haven't been listening to the broadcast because I've been driving trying to get here, but definitely a large number of people that either have evacuated or are on their way to evacuating right now. As you can see, there's just smoke and fire everywhere. It's all kind of pushing towards the bridge, and I could see that fire you were talking about on the other side of the bridge as I was driving up. I obviously can't get a vantage point, and due to the safety concerns, this is as close as CHP is currently allowing me to go. And I think that's about all I can give to you right now, Emily.
Brian, as far as the winds are concerned, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, is it pretty gusty out there right now?
It is. I'm kind of in a canyon here because I have this hill to the left of me, but if you see how hard that smoke's blowing over, I can kind of take you up to this bush right here to give you an idea, but it definitely feels like a good consistent 10, 15 mile an hour winds. I couldn't tell you what the gusts are, but I can see everything swaying in the breeze. Even if I come directly left here, you can see these bushes here are moving. So I'm sure that that's really hindering their fire efforts and how they can get on top of this fire and really push it back. And I'm sure that they're very, struggling for all the resources. I saw the number of people up in Healdsburg, and there were mutual aid from Milpitas, San Francisco, pretty much every Bay Area city and county. So I'm sure that, down here they've got everyone on duty, but how many people are there really available?
It is a historic wind event, and I think all hands are on deck. All right, photojournalist Brian Kiley live for us there on the north side of the Carquinez Bridge. Brian, thank you so much. We're now going to go live to the phones to David Harvey with CHP. Now, at this point, there is a full closure of I-80. Can you talk kind of about what the conditions are with the fire and the roadways at this moment?
Hi, Officer Dave Harvey. Yes, we currently do have Interstate 80 closed between Highway 4 and Interstate 780, and we're highly advising to find alternative routes.
Now, what does this look like as far as evacuations are concerned? Because there are portions of Crockett that are trying to evacuate. There are people still in Sonoma County trying to get out. Have you seen bottlenecks on the roadways and people trying to evacuate?
At this time, I'm not on scene. I'm actually getting ready to head that way. But I know there is heavy traffic in the area and avoid the area if possible.
What have been some of the big challenges for you guys so far in dealing with not just this, but all of the firefights that we've seen?
Well, typically when a fire causes a roadway to shut down, bottlenecks and intense traffic is a major concern, and so is safety for the public. So typically we'll just turn motorists around and have them exit the freeway to an alternative route.
So for people who do have to get on the roadways, so those folks in Crockett, some of the people who might still be needing to leave Sonoma County, when it comes to getting on the roadways with this public safety power shutdown, with a lot of these closures, what are the important things for people to remember?
Plan ahead, follow the speed limits, don't speed, don't get in a rush, and if the stoplights don't have power to them and they're blacked out, treat the stoplights as a stop sign. Stop for all the intersections.
Got it. Okay. And then any other points for folks who might be looking to hit the roadways or who are trying to get around this area? Is it better to just stay put?
If you can stay home, stay home.
Right. Stay off of those roadways. Let firefighters do their job. Give them all the space they need. Officer David Harvey with CHP Solano. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he is headed up to Healdsburg now to go deal with the Kincaid fire and some of the traffic closures there. 101 is shut down. In the meantime, you're taking a live look out to 80, which is also shut down. This is north of the Carquinez Bridge here. Basically, from the toll plaza or just before you get to the toll plaza, that's where this live picture is with photojournalist Brian Kiley. You can see the scorched earth there on the left-hand side of your screen. That hillside has already burned. There is lots and lots of smoke in the air. At this point, because of the winds, I guess if there is anything positive to come out of this, it's that the wind direction is coming from the north, so it's pushing the fire that is on the north side of the strait south towards the water. Now, here's the bad side of that. You're seeing smoke in the horizon, which could potentially be embers fires that have lit another fire, which is likely, Fire has said, exactly what happened in Crockett. They're calling this second blaze that's on the other side of the Carquinez Strait from this live picture, the Crockett Fire. Now, that one started 55 minutes after the one on the north side of the bridge. They believe that due to these winds, at this point, sustained winds of about 20 to 25 miles an hour per hour weather maps, that it flew embers across the strait, lit a fire in Crockett, and at this point, it is threatening homes. So we do know there is an immediate evacuation there. If you live south of Pomona Street to the city limits or west of Crockett Boulevard to 80, you are under a mandatory evacuation. Now, if you live in the remaining part of the town limits, you are under an evacuation warning. At this point, Fire says that the good news is, again, this is moving or the wind is blowing this fire away from houses. But at this point, they, out of an abundance of caution, are getting people out because they want to make sure that if the wind direction shifts pretty quickly or if something happens, there's a spot fire that they can't get to, that everyone is safe. Because if the folks are safe, the people are safe, then they can concentrate on protecting the structures, which is really how it goes. People first, property second. There is an evacuation center that's in Hercules that is down the evacuation route of 80. It's at the Hercules Swim Center, and that is open to about 1,000 people at this point that have been asked to or told to leave due to that mandatory evacuation. Right now, we have Jim Crockett with CAL FIRE on the line. Jim, at this point, when it comes to just this overwhelming number of fires, how are you even able to keep up?
Good morning, Emily. So I guess one of the fortunate things is that we've had kind of a sequential set of fires this morning. So we've had strong resources that have been able to contain the other fires this morning and then reallocate resources from those fires after their containment efforts have been established. So resources from the other fires that we had this morning were sent to the fire that's in the Crockett area as well as the Vallejo area from both the North Bay as well as from the Santa Clara unit.
At this point, I feel like you're getting it from all fronts. What is your biggest, from CAL FIRE's perspective, what is your biggest priority right now when it comes to firefighting?
I think you were kind of covering it before. It's really about life and making sure that we have all the public is out of the area that could be affected by the fire front as it's moving forward. So rescue is obviously a number one priority, making sure that we have all of the public out of the way. Containment efforts when possible and as we can to be able to establish a perimeter and be able to contain the fire. Making sure that we're communicating information to the public about evacuation areas, and we appreciate all the support the media does to provide that. Especially in the initial stages of an incident, as we have rapid growth, it's really important for people to stay in contact through alert mechanisms that are available through social media as well as through local government portals that are out there.
Now, when it comes to these conditions, I've been talking about wind gusts up to 80 in some of the hills, sustained winds 20 to 45 miles an hour. What does that actually look like, though, on the fire lines?
Extreme rates of spread, even when the humidity is higher than maybe some of the more minimal humidities we've seen in the Bay Area, we still have extreme rates of spread, which means the need for more personnel to suppress the fire. And it takes more time to be able to do that because resources are coming from farther away, and the fire continues to spread during that time. So again, allocating resources to actually perimeter control instead of rescue is a big help, and that's where we really need the public's help, is to make sure that they get out of the way of the fire early so that we can concentrate our efforts on suppression.
And at this point, there have been several evacuations, not just in Sonoma County, but also in Crockett. And as far as personnel is concerned, when you talk about resources, do you feel like there are enough people, or is this just one of those days you feel like you can't get ahead of it?
For Contra Costa County, and they have gone to assist in Sonoma County. However, there's still resilience within the counties in the Bay Area to support efforts like this. And it really is a total force concept. It's not just the fire department. It's all of the emergency operations of all of the departments in county and state government and local government that make it possible to be able to deal with an emergency response in conditions like this. So we really appreciate all the support that comes from our law enforcement partners, as well as from our local government emergency operations centers and emergency managers. They're really helping during this time to toe that line, to be able to get people to places where they're safe and they can get information.
And at this point, with winds that are blowing this fast, we've seen, like, for example, the fire that's happening in Vallejo that then spread to Crockett with embers. How common is that? I mean, how big of a risk and challenge is that?
Well, we have seen this many times over the last few decades, where we have large swaths of land that are taken up by fire over very short periods of time. It takes a lot of resources to be able to accomplish the containment of those fires, and in some cases it takes a weather change or a subsidence in the wind to be able to get in and effectively do the containment efforts that need to take place.
Yeah, but in the next 24 hours, I mean, this wind event doesn't expire until 11 o'clock tomorrow. I mean,
Yep.
What do the next 24 hours look like? I mean, it's scary to even think about.
Absolutely, and it wouldn't be the first time that we've had large-scale incidents within the Bay Area where we've had large populations that are at risk or endangered or have damage. Go back to 1991 tunnel fire in the Oakland Hills, and you think about those fires and how much effort it takes to be able to contain those. We do expect that there's going to be a little bit of change in the wind this afternoon, and hopefully that's enough to at least get some containment on the fire that's occurring right now, and give us potentially a little bit of a respite if we have any other fires. But we'll continue to allocate resources from all over California and even outside of California as more incidents might emerge. It's just very important that people be careful when they're outside, to not be in a place where they could be potentially starting a fire. Be careful with any burning objects, or be careful with any mechanized equipment, and really try to stay away from any circumstances where there might be an opportunity for a fire to start.
And we've seen video of the tankers dropping retardant on the Crockett Fire, and I know that they've been involved also up at the Kincaid Fire. But with these winds, we're hearing that there are some challenges with an air attack.
Absolutely. Air effectiveness really only works up to a certain amount of wind speed, and then they're not effective anymore. So, again, we have to take advantage of the weather when we can, and utilize those resources that we can. We know that we've had some helicopter assets within California that have been grounded simply because the winds are too strong in certain areas on certain fires. And we'll just continue to utilize the resources we can and put them back in the air when it's possible to be able to use them again. And as we've seen, these things kind of come in waves. So the winds increase, they decrease for a little bit. So we're keeping a close eye on the weather and taking advantage of any opportunities that come up to be able to utilize air assets when possible.
Great. Jim Crawford with CAL FIRE, thank you so much. Please stay safe out there.
Thank you.